Go get some beer. Got it, I replied. The man in his early 20s told me, and I silently went to buy beer. I left my house in a wheelchair and headed to a nearby convenience store. I bought it, but can I ask for payment? I asked. Huh? What are you saying? It's obvious that the older person pays, right? Don't you have common sense? Kyle, my wife's affair partner, laughed and started drinking the beer I bought. Thinking of something, I suppressed my anger and found out where the man worked. Anderson, could you let me meet with the CEO? I asked. Realizing that the CEO and I were connected, Kyle suddenly changed his attitude. Anderson talked to the receptionist and made an appointment through the internal phone. What's gonna happen to me? Kyle asked. I'm looking forward to your next payday, I replied. Anderson grabbed Kyle's arm and headed to the CEO's office. But my name is Robert Thompson. I turned 50 this year and have been married to my wife Olivia for 10 years. Olivia and I met at a computer class I was attending at the time. I could use computers, but I was attending a difficult class to improve my skills. Olivia had always been good with computers, but she came to help out through her connections with the instructor. Perhaps because I was in a wheelchair, Olivia made a point of talking to me. Gradually, I began to look forward to seeing her every time. Robert, mind if I sit next to you? Olivia asked. Oh, hi Olivia. You're here early today, huh? I was happy to see her early, as it was rare for Olivia to come early in the day. That's what I was thinking. My work ended early. Hey, did you finish the assignment from the other day? She asked. It's pretty tough, and I'm struggling with it. Did you finish it, Olivia? I did. Let me teach you. Olivia, who was smart and beautiful, had been actively talking to me since we met. Compared to me, who was bad with computers, Olivia breezed through the assignments. I was always learning how to do the assignments from Olivia. In return, we sometimes had meals together. Are you sure about such an expensive restaurant? Olivia asked. What are you talking about? Don't worry about it. You're helping me out by teaching me, Olivia, I replied. I invited Olivia to dinner as my usual thank you. I made a reservation at a fancy restaurant with a nice date atmosphere. Perhaps thanks to that, she seemed very pleased. If you're treating me to such a luxurious dinner, I'll teach you anytime, she said. That'd be a big help. I have to hurry because I definitely have computer work at my job, I explained. Then maybe I should become your personal tutor, Olivia said with a smile, looking beautiful. She probably wouldn't consider someone like me as a man, but I was gradually becoming attracted to Olivia's charm. She was kind to me, even with my physical disability, and had a very kind heart. I was increasingly drawn to her, but I was self-conscious about my bad legs. I had the self-deprecating thought that she probably wouldn't accept my feelings unless I had a healthy body. I love you, Olivia. I want to be with you forever, but I think I'll be a burden because of my physical disability, I said. What are you saying? I love you too and want to be with you forever. I'll cover for your physical issues, Olivia replied. The kind-hearted Olivia accepted me, and we got married. I felt on top of the world, wondering if it was okay for me to be this happy. My parents divorced when I was young, and I haven't seen my father in years. My mother lives alone at her age and has no other enjoyment. She was thrilled when I got married, but she seems to want grandchildren. However, my wife and I can't have children, and I think about how we can show her any. There are some circumstances behind that, so I thought it couldn't be helped. I lost my legs in an accident as a child and have been living in a wheelchair. I shielded my younger brother, who was small at the time, and got into an accident that required amputation. My father took custody of my brother when my parents divorced, so we don't keep in touch. But recently, I saw information in a magazine that he's the CEO of a major company. However, since we parted ways in childhood, I didn't bother to see him now. My mother was very worried about my brother, whom she could no longer see, but my father's will prevented her from seeing him. I thought my mother must be feeling lonely. Even with adult circumstances, it must be hard not to be able to see your own child. I know my mother sometimes cries while looking at pictures of my brother. I myself felt lonely and worried about not being able to see my brother, with whom I was close. But I had no way to contact him, not even knowing where he was. Right after we got married, Olivia said she wanted children, but when it didn't work out, she stopped saying anything. A housewife who was also good at cooking. She did the housework perfectly. But about 2 years ago, her clothes suddenly became flashy and she started going out a lot. We didn't have kids, and I was often out for work, so I didn't say anything in particular. Staying home all the time must be depressing, and there's no point in being possessive. Besides, she always prepares my meals properly when she goes out. But recently, there were days when she didn't come home until morning. Staying out until morning without a word makes me worry that something happened, I said. I'm sorry. My mother suddenly called for me, she replied. When I asked her about it, thinking it was definitely odd, she seemed to be going back to her parents' house. When we get married, Olivia's parents didn't think well of me because of my poor health. Plus, with my family being a single mother household, I'm not very welcome. Because of that, I had no intention of contacting Olivia's parents, so I didn't suspect anything. After a while, Olivia was having trouble with the mattress being wet and not drying. It was heavily soaked, in a state that couldn't be considered normal. It's so wet, it's unusable now, she said. Why is it so wet? I asked. I put it out to dry because it's not good to keep it laid out all the time, and it started raining, she explained. I can sleep when the bed is hard without a mattress. I gave Olivia money and told her to buy a new mattress. But it kept happening many times, and I wondered if they were doing something on the bed. But since I'm not home during the day, I left everything about the house to Olivia. After that, the bed was replaced several more times. I had entrusted the bank book to Olivia, so she must have withdrawn money from there to buy them. How could you get it wet this many times? Anyway, I'll give you the ATM card, I said. I'm sorry. I'm being careful, but the weather has been weird lately, she replied. Use the money in this account if you need to, I told her. I managed our living expenses, but I had been saving most of my income since I was single with no hobbies. So I had money distributed to several banks, and I usually kept it. After getting married, I realized that Olivia doesn't seem to be good at managing money. Olivia says she doesn't spend much money because she's a housewife. So I just gave her living expenses and kept saving money. This was the first time I gave her an ATM card, but I thought she wouldn't use it for anything other than necessities. Maybe I had such a naive idea. Since she started buying mattresses, Olivia stopped going out at night. So I didn't suspect anything and thought she had a change of heart. But Olivia's clothes and accessories kept getting flashier and flashier. One day, when I checked the balance of the bank book I had entrusted to her, it was down to $6. The bank book had close to $100,000 in it, but Olivia had used it all. But I couldn't blame Olivia. I always inconvenience her because of my poor health, and I think it's my fault we can't have children. Honestly, at that time, I was successful at work and just wanted to stay with Olivia without making waves. So I didn't bring up the money issue. One day, I forgot some work documents and decided to go back home. The front door was locked, so I thought she must have gone out and unlocked it. Then I heard Olivia's voice and an unknown man's voice coming from the bedroom. I quietly approached the room, careful not to make a sound, and peeked inside. No way. That gonna be hurt. What? You like it, don't you? The two were in the middle of it, with Olivia making unbelievable noises. I was shaking with anger, but I watched the two for a while. Olivia, boldly opening the curtains and writhing her body, was taking hits. I clearly realized this was why the mattress was wet. The man, who looked to be in his early 20s, lit a cigarette after finishing. You're a bad wife, calling me over every day in broad daylight like this. Doesn't your husband notice anything? That man is a workaholic. He doesn't complain no matter what I do. Olivia said, looking down on me and laughing. She boasted about being free to do as she pleased during the day. It didn't seem to be the first time she invited a man over during the day this time. But it's really terrible. You're married, but you just keep cheating through dating apps, the man said. But I've only been playing with Kyle recently, you know, Olivia replied. Olivia called the man Kyle and seemed to be having an affair. I was also told the fact that Olivia had been playing around until now. I, who had trusted her, was shocked and felt like barging in right then, but I held back. Her clothes becoming flashy and her going out frequently were all to meet Kyle. You're a terrible woman. Playing with other men when you have a husband. Well, I don't dislike it, Kyle said. But I can't help it. My husband's legs are lame and he's useless, and I'm this beautiful, Olivia replied. If his body was bad when you got married, why did you marry him? Kyle asked. Olivia took the cigarette Kyle was smoking, took a puff herself, and continued talking. She doesn't smoke in front of me, but I sometimes smelled it, so I thought she was smoking. But since I don't smoke, she was pretending not to smoke in front of me. It's obviously because he had money, right? He always takes me to fancy restaurants. I don't know what he does for work, but you married him for his money. That's terrible. He's a husband with such a bad body and high maintenance. What other appeal does he have? I want to play around for life. Doing it with such a young man in broad daylight. Olivia looked like a really dirty woman to me. Plus, the fact that Olivia married me for my money. I was about to explode with anger, but I decided to calm down and deal with it calmly no matter what. I thought if I raged here, with my bad body, I probably wouldn't be able to overpower Kyle. I opened the door and entered the bedroom where the two were. What are you doing? Who are you? I demanded. You. Why are you coming home at this hour? Olivia asked, flustered as she hastily put on her clothes. But Kyle, who was with her, lit another cigarette and glared at me. I'm being called here because the old man is useless, he said. Useless, huh? That's right. You can't even have a proper married life, right? I'm taking care of Olivia because I feel sorry for her. Olivia, who had been flustered until just now, also started glaring at me and looking down on me. Then she turned to me and started acting defiant. You have no right to complain about anything I do. If you get it, go away, she said. Go get some beer, Kyle ordered. I glared at the two of them, but I didn't say anything more. Got it, I replied. At Kyle's command, I went to the convenience store to buy beer. Resisting here won't do any good. Besides, I had thought things were a bit off for a while, so there's a camera in the bedroom. It's to let the two of them keep going naturally and record them in a candid state for evidence later. From the time I was silently listening to their conversation, all I could think about was getting revenge on the two of them. I bought 2 or 3 beers at the convenience store, and as I was about to head home, it suddenly started raining. I had no umbrella and returned home in the rain in my wheelchair. When I got back home, the two of them were in the living room, and Kyle was sitting on the couch watching TV like he owned a place. Maybe he thought I had forgiven him since I didn't say anything to him earlier. His incredibly rude attitude annoyed me, but I handed over the beer I bought. I bought it. Can I ask for payment? I asked. What are you saying? It's obvious that the older person treats, right? Don't you have any manners, old man? That's right. He's taking care of me, so it's common sense to treat him right away, isn't it? Where does that kind of common sense exist? I was so appalled I couldn't say anything more. But I needed to clarify Kyle's identity. With that in mind, I continued to act submissive and talk to Kyle. You said your name is Kyle, right? Don't you have a job? I graduated from college. I'm an elite. Kyle boasted, making me furious. But I suppressed my feelings and continued the conversation. I see. You must be really smart if you graduated from a good college. But you can go out during the day on weekdays. I'm a top salesperson, so I can use my time freely, he replied. Freely controlling your time and having freedom are different things. I sensed that Kyle was still a rookie and had no common sense. You got a job at a good company, huh? You just graduated from college, right? Yeah, I'm a new employee. But the company doesn't say anything because my performance is good. Hearing about the company, I could tell it was a big one. I thought there was a possibility it could be the company I was looking for. By the way, what's the name of your company? What's with you, old man? Are you curious about my company? It's Japan Corporation. Hearing the unexpected company name, I continued questioning him further. It might just be the company I had wanted to go to. Japan, the famous video game company. Do you understand my abilities now? You're not even close to my level though. While guiding the conversation, I succeeded in finding out Kyle's company. But more than that, I was surprised to hear the company name. I never thought I would meet an employee of the company I had been seeking. I made a proposal to Kyle. I have a request. Could you show me around your company? Kyle. Huh? What are you saying, old man? No matter how amazing my company is, what business do you have there? Kyle gave me a suspicious look at my sudden request. But I couldn't let him know the circumstances now, so I continued to act submissive. It's a company I've been interested in for a long time. I really want to meet the CEO. I don't think the CEO would meet with an old man like you even if you came to our company. Please, take me to the company. Olivia, who had been silently listening to our conversation, looked displeased. It was probably because I was groveling to a man barely in his 20s who had stolen my wife. But I had a purpose, so I was able to speak calmly in front of Kyle. I guess I have no choice. If you insist that much, I'll take you, he said. Thank you. I'm counting on you. I kept my head bowed until the end, and it was decided that I would be shown around the company. Kyle took Olivia and me to the company. I'll talk to the department head first, so wait here. Due to the tight security, Olivia and I were made to wait in the lobby. It was a very large lobby, and I could feel the prestige of a major company. Why do I have to come to a place like this too? Olivia complained. Just be quiet. We're going to meet a really famous CEO. It won't hurt, right? I guess that's true. Come to think of it, you make video game software, don't you? Are you going to pitch it? No, I probably can't do that much. But I want to meet him. After waiting for a while, Kyle brought his department head, Anderson Smith. He seemed to not have heard the details from Kyle and had a puzzled look on his face. Nice to meet you, I'm Anderson Smith. What brings you here this time? Huh? Robert. Long time no see. How have you been, Anderson? Seeing Anderson bow to me, Kyle's expression changed. Anderson was my brother's classmate, and we used to play together long ago. I hadn't seen him since I started living apart from my brother, but he immediately recognized me. Kyle, who had been rude to me until just now, seemed to realize the situation was a bit dangerous. His attitude suddenly changed and he became more respectful. Do you two know each other? More than just acquaintances. But why is Robert acquainted with our new employee? Anderson seemed puzzled that I had been brought here by Kyle. That was understandable, as we had a large age gap and nothing in common. Actually, my wife and this man were having an affair, I explained. What? What are you thinking? Do you know who this person is? Hearing this, Anderson suddenly became agitated, and Kyle seemed to sense the gravity of the situation. He dropped his earlier rude attitude, and his voice trembled slightly. No, who is this person? Robert is the CEO's older brother. Huh? What? Is that true? Hearing Anderson's words, Kyle's face visibly turned pale. Even Olivia, who was standing behind me, probably never thought I was the older brother of the CEO of this big company. She was so shocked she couldn't even make a sound. He's been coming to our house during the day and doing terrible things. Then, when I asked about his company, it was here. What have you been doing? What do you think this company is? I was told that if my performance is good, I can use my time effectively. Kyle didn't seem to think he had done anything wrong. He was displaying an utter lack of common sense, saying he hadn't violated company regulations. It seems he thinks he'll still be forgiven if he gives a reason. You weren't using your time effectively. You were just using it freely, right? Having an affair in broad daylight is unacceptable, Anderson said, looking a bit appalled, but Kyle still didn't try to apologize for what he had done. Anderson seemed to be getting more and more irritated. His words to Kyle were becoming harsher. So, can I meet with the CEO? Can I see Ryan? I asked. I'll take you right away, Anderson replied, looking at my face and hurriedly talking to the receptionist, making an appointment through the internal phone. He probably never thought the person who wanted to meet the CEO would be me. He called the CEO's office and conveyed my request for a visit. What's gonna happen to me? Kyle asked. I'm looking forward to your next payday, I replied. Perhaps because he understood what that meant. Kyle seemed to realize his position was in danger. The smartphone in his hand was shaking, and his earlier rude attitude was gone. I have nothing to do with this, right? Olivia said, trying to hurry home. But I grabbed her arm and decided to take her with me. Just be quiet. You're coming too, Olivia. Anderson led us to the CEO's office. In front of the CEO's office, Anderson went in first and seemed to be explaining the situation to Ryan. We waited a bit outside the door, but Anderson came and let us in. "Ryan, long time no see. Do you remember me?" I asked. "What are you talking about, big bro? Long time no see," he replied. I'm not sure how many years it had been, but it had been a long time since I'd seen Ryan, yet traces of his childhood remained. I was so happy to be reunited with him that I unconsciously grabbed Ryan's hand. "I was always worried about you, but Mom told me Dad wouldn't let us meet." "Dad passed away last year," Ryan said. "Is that so? You could have contacted me then." Ryan looked down with a slightly sad expression on his face. There seemed to be circumstances behind why he didn't inform us about Dad. "Dad regretted what he had done and made sure not to let you see him, big bro," he explained. "What do you mean? What did Dad do?" "He cheated. He was just deceived by a woman. But he said he couldn't face Mom." "Well, I only found out last year too." I was speechless at the unexpected situation. I had never heard that Dad had cheated. It felt like my idealized feelings towards my father, whom I had glorified in my mind, were being shattered. "Mom never said anything about that," I said. "Mom didn't find out. Dad left the house with me before she found out." It wasn't that I didn't trust the words coming out of Ryan's mouth, but I wondered why he took Ryan with him even though he had done something wrong. "Why did he only take you?" "I think he thought Mom could work if he took me, since I was small and life would be tough. It seems Dad took only Ryan and left, not wanting to cause Mom any more trouble in the end. But it doesn't seem like Dad had any other women after that. He thought about that." "I see. And I always thought you wouldn't forgive me either, big bro," Ryan said. Ryan had always blamed himself for me losing my legs in the accident. He must have been blaming himself all this time. But I never thought that at all. "There's nothing to forgive, Ryan. It's not your fault," I told him. "No, I'm the one who took your legs, big bro," he insisted. "A long time ago, I got into an accident while playing with Ryan, but it was actually Ryan who was about to get hit by the car. Ryan, who was still small, had chased after a ball that flew away and ran out into the road. At that time, I desperately tried to protect Ryan, and I was the one who got hit by the car and sent flying. Ryan was injured too, but because I acted as a cushion, it didn't turn into anything serious. If only I hadn't run out at that time," he said. "What are you saying?" "I'm proud that I was able to protect you, Ryan," I replied. "I'm truly sorry. And this time, our new employee had an affair with your wife. No amount of apologies will be enough." Seeing Ryan prostrating himself, Kyle's face turned pale. I immediately went to Ryan's side, made him stop apologizing, and helped him stand up by supporting his back and waist. "You have nothing to apologize for, Ryan. Olivia bears a large responsibility in this matter too," I said. "I thought I was valuing my colleagues in order to grow the company, but maybe I misled them about having freedom. I wanted to create a company with leeway, but..." Ryan increased the number of people and colleagues in order to grow the company. At first, it seems it was all fun and games, but when the number of people increased too much, it became difficult to manage. He seemed to think he needed to rethink the employee structure. "With such a big company, there may be things that slip through the cracks," I said. "But having an affair using work hours isn't a management issue. The responsibility lies with me for hiring someone like him. I met that person on an online message board, and they said they'd give me money." Kyle suddenly interjected, and Olivia couldn't hide her bewilderment. Her face stiffened and she raised her voice loudly. "Wait, what are you talking about? Money? Didn't you say you loved me? What? You were after money? What? I won't forgive you." Olivia had been spending a considerable amount of my money on Kyle, but Olivia probably never thought she'd be used and then thrown away. She seemed to have truly fallen in love with Kyle and thought she was loved in return. "The one who won't be forgiven is you, Olivia. You approached me for my money from the start, didn't you?" I said, repeating what Olivia had said at home, and upon seeing my face, she suddenly lost her words. Her body started shaking more and more, and she looked like she was about to cry at any moment. "I'll get compensation from both of you, $60,000 each. And the $100,000 Olivia spent, $110,000 per person," I declared. "The $100,000 has nothing to do with me, right? Olivia spent that on me on her own." Kyle argued. The moment I was about to complain to Kyle, Ryan, who had been listening silently, interrupted. Ryan, who had been calm until just now, raised his voice and lashed out at Kyle. Of course it has something to do with you. You'll be paying damages to the company too. No way. Please forgive me. Kyle pleaded, all the strength leaving his body as he collapsed to the floor then and there. He finally regretted what he had done, but it was too late. Olivia also lay on the floor crying, unable to say anything in return. But even in this form, I was truly happy to be reunited with Ryan. I divorced Olivia and formally demanded compensation. Olivia initially resisted the large amount, but she had no choice but to accept what the lawyer said. Olivia, who had only been a housewife, couldn't find a company that would hire her and apparently started working in the water trade. She seems to be working at a brothel in order to make monthly repayments to me. At first, she was popular, but working only to make repayments exhausted her and her popularity declined. Now, with an aged face and no beauty left, she's been relegated to serving only mature women clients. The monthly repayments are small, but every time I recorded them, it felt like I was checking on her well-being. Kyle was then fired from the company for disciplinary reasons. Because it was a major company, rumors spread and he couldn't find work. He was apparently working at a construction site in the countryside during the day and as a male escort at night, but his attitude toward customers was bad. So he couldn't get any requests and drank too much as a helper, ruining his health. Just because you like women doesn't mean it's a sweet world. He was originally a playboy who looked down on women, so he probably wasn't suited to be a male escort. This is what they call reaping what you sow, I thought. After that, I was able to have Ryan meet our mother. Our mother, who had always been worried about Ryan, cried with joy. Ryan, who had been enduring because he was a man, must have always wanted to see our mother too. He was happy to see her, and he said he would take in our physically weak mother. He was probably going to make up for the time they couldn't be together. Then, I collaborated with Ryan's company to release a game I had been developing for a long time. The game sold like hotcakes, and my name recognition skyrocketed. I originally had my own company, but I was unknown and only sold my works, so no one knew me. But from now on, my name and Ryan's name will be etched in the gaming industry. From now on, I intend to join forces with my brother to repay our mother. I vowed to make the rest of our mother's life a happy one filled with laughter every day.